Hello, citizens of YouTube land. It's your VP. President's over there still getting ready, and I just decided to hit record because why not? And welcome to another episode of the month of Halloween horror. This time, Supernatural Edition. This time, we are covering the film Evil Dead 2.
Which premiered, like how I did that, guys, which premiered March 13th, 1987, made for a budget of $3.5 million and was a minor box office success, grossing $6 million worldwide. Now, we're talking about the 1980s where advertising and stuff didn't fit as much into the budget, which is why it could have been more of a success. Whereas a movie today that was made for the same amount of money would probably actually need to gross around 10 to 15 million just to be considered a minor success. Now, that having been said, it was directed by Sam Raimi, of course, and mainly stars Bruce Campbell for a good 40 to 45 minutes of the film. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
And it was... and for those of you guys who are interested, it currently has a whopping 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So, originally, Sam Raimi didn't even want to do a sequel to Evil Dead, but unfortunately, he kind of had to
It was
save his
because
career.
of the critical and commercial failure of the 1985 movie Crime Wave. And his original idea for the sequel was to be time travel in the Middle Ages. Well, we didn't quite get that just yet because Dino De Laurentiis, he insisted on it being more like the previous film. So as a result, Evil Dead 2 is what we would probably best describe as a requel. It is both a sequel and a remake in that it borrows and remembers ideas from the first movie, but doesn't always follow through with it because...
Was Evil Dead 2 the first requel?
Perhaps. Let's get right into it. Ash and his girlfriend, Linda, who you guys might remember from the first movie, but is now played by a different actress and a different Linda altogether, although we have the same Ash. So you see how it can be a little confusing at first. They are college students and they're on their way on vacation, and they just happen to come across this. Well, they're driving to this cabin that Ash knows about, that he knows nobody's home, and they're going to have a good time. Well, they drive across the suspension bridge to get there. This is important. And they get to the cabin, and they're having a good time. And like in the first movie, Ash gives Linda a necklace. And this is somewhat important. Well, you'll find out in a little bit. So they're messing around in the cabin, and Ash comes. He sees the Necromonicon just sitting there.
No, he sees the tape recording.
Well, he also sees the Book of the Dead. It's sitting right there.
Actually, you never see the Necronomicon in Evil Dead 2. You see it in the
Yes,
first
you do.
one, but you don't see it in
It's sitting right there.
No, you don't.
Yes, it's sitting right there. You can watch it again. It's sitting right there. So it's sitting right there, and there's the tape recorder. And Ash turns the tape recorder on. And it's the same professor from the first movie. So, again, you can see the confusion. And he's reciting the passage. And the evil comes. And Linda gets possessed. And Ash has to fight her off. And beheads her with a shovel. And then the evil goes after him. And, well, Ash actually gets possessed by... I want to say, guys, that based by my observations of the film, that he's possessed by two different deadites, and I'll get to that. And so he's lying face down in a puddle, and he's breathing, and there's bubbles. And he rises up, and he's got the deadite face, but the sun has come up. And in this movie, much like with a werewolf can only be a werewolf at night, really you can only be a deadite at night as well. So he actually is able to retreat it. And but it's only left him temporarily because then that night comes. And the paranoia sits in. And things start to happen. It's slapstick galore for about 40 minutes straight, y'all.
Ash, I believe, starts losing his mind.
He starts losing his mind. At one point, he is talking to himself in the mirror, and his evil Ash side comes out. And this is more prominent in the third film, which we'll talk about next time. But evil Ash kind of makes an appearance here, guys. But then it's revealed that Ash is just, well, choking himself for no real reason other than the paranoia. And so Linda is dead and buried. This is surreal, guys. We might have to show a little bit of this, but we can't show too much of it because yeah, we can't show too much of this. But well, I guess we could show the aftermaths because we can't really show what I'm about to talk about, but I can describe it a little bit. So Linda's corpse pops up out of the ground, and then her head rolls back onto her body, and then she starts dancing and prancing around.
Like she's Jack Skellington from A Nightmare Before Christmas, because think about it.
Doing some kind of like twisted stop motion ballet. Then her head falls back off of her body. Then she scoops it up, puts it back on her head. But then the head falls off again. And it flies at Ash. And it lashes on his hand. And he's swinging it about. And he's trying to beat it off of his hand. And he takes it out to the shed. And he traps the head in a vise. And the head's like, we're going to swallow your soul. And it's making all kinds, and it's laughing maniacally, which is what he really appreciated because of the first movie. Yeah, a little throwback. But now the hand is possessed. And the hand is breaking dishes over his head. It's smacking him around. He gets unconscious now. And the hand, with a mind of its own, sees a meat cleaver. So it's inching forward, and it's making little noises, and it's inching forward, and it's inching forward until it's about, I don't know, a half a foot, maybe a foot away from the cleaver when Ash regains consciousness and straight stabs his own hand with a dagger, trapping it in place. He grabs a chainsaw. He cuts his own hand off. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, the professor's daughter and her husband, or boyfriend, I think, are on their way back to see him because they've recovered the other pages of the Necromonicon. And as a result of that, they're on their way back, and they see that the bridge, which, by the way, guys, the bridge is gone, just like in the first movie. Only it's not really like washed away or anything. And this one, they made it seem like there was like maybe an earthquake or something because it's a suspension bridge. So the rails curl backwards. It's kind of a neat effect. The movie is full of some tremendous stop motion, guys. If you're a fan of that kind of filmmaking, you're going to love Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
You will.
So one thing I would like to talk about is the deer head laughing
Hold
at
on.
Ash.
We're almost there with that.
Oh.
So they're on their way back, okay? And they're there, and the maintenance worker has put up a sign, and it turns out that, well, he's a redneck. Okay, let's just face facts. That's what he is. And his redneck girlfriend is there, and they offer to take the professor and his girl and her husband to a trail to the cabin for $100. And she says, if you pick up my bags, we will go ahead and do that. And that's a deal. So he says, okay. So they're on their way back. Meanwhile, go ahead.
So again, the paranoia is starting to sit in, and Ash is losing his mind, guys. Like he's like weary of whichever place, and like he's shooting at the wall at his own hand, and it's like you could tell that Ash's mental state is probably snapped at this point. Because then a mounted deer's head on the wall starts laughing at him. Then a lamp, then the clock, then the books, then the bookshelf. They all start laughing at
And
him.
they're all just kind of laughing like this. They're kind of laughing like.
So fun.
So then Ash starts laughing, and he's all, and then he starts screaming, and here.
Yeah.
We'll show a little bit of that.
So actually, real quick, one of my favorite shows of all time is Gravity Falls. People who know me personally know that I really love Gravity Falls. There's an episode of Gravity Falls entitled Northwest Mansion Mystery. It's season 2, episode 10. I remember this specifically. They made an Evil Dead 2 reference in which there's this room in the house that's haunted and stuff, and then like every head on the wall turns towards Dipper and Pacifica, and there's like blood coming down its mouth and everything. And it's like laughing at them, and I'm like, is that an Evil Dead reference? Yeah, and behold, it is.
So after all of this, he's recovered a bit of his sanity. And the professor and the husband and the rednecks have made their way to the cabin.
And he also shoots at the
And the
wall.
professor is very concerned because there's the chainsaw, there's gallons of blood everywhere. She assumes that he murdered her parents.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre style, apparently.
And so they force him into the cellar. And she then plays the recording, the rest of the recording of the professor, and he reveals, of course, that his wife had become possessed. He couldn't dismember her. He buried her in the earthen floor of the cellar. Springs back to life, starts attacking Ash. Ash is trying to get out. He's like, "Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!" And they're for some reason debating on it. And one thing leads to another, though. And the Henrietta, she is responsible for not one, not two, but a triple possession, y'all. She possesses the husband, she possesses the redneck wife, and the main redneck. Yeah. And so they all get turned.
Yeah.
But let me back up for just a second, because while they all get turned, there is this really cool little spot where he believes it's a bit of a Thing reference, and I see it more as an homage.
So actually, no, that's towards the end of the film. Anyways, they're all getting turned, right? Barbara Joe, she goes out to the woods, by the way, and then the trees start wrapping around her, just like a certain little scene we couldn't talk about.
And we thought it was going to happen, but it didn't.
But no, it didn't. She actually winds up getting pulled away off screen, presumably probably dies. So then the main redneck dude kind of like takes a shotgun and says, "I'm in control now," and like tries to tell them to go and look for them and everything. And then like Ash winds up getting possessed and throws the main redneck dude. And by the way, there's one part that I just find really awesome is that the one redneck dude literally gets sucked down into the cellar and then just gallons upon gallons upon gallons of blood just starts spraying out from the cellar.
So to speed it along, it comes down to the professor's daughter and Ash. And they had discovered that there's a prophecy that in the year 1300, someone will fall from the sky and stop the Deadites, which is what they were going to do in this movie. So they have to read these other incantations that'll open a portal to send the evil out and cast it out. And they have to fight all the other Deadites in the process. And the professor reads it. Only there's a problem. Ash's Oldsmobile is sucked in. The evil is sucked in. And Ash is sucked in.
Yep.
So now he's stuck in the Middle Ages, and I presume one of the Crusader kingdoms, actually, guys.
Actually, it's supposed to be that he's stuck in the UK, in England, because you actually have King Arthur in there as well. And also in Army of Darkness, he's also prosecuted alongside of the Scottish king.
Well, I thought they might. I don't know. Anyways,
No,
guys,
it's not in the Crusader kingdoms. It's actually supposed to be England in the year 1300, along with King Arthur and one of the Scots.
Doesn't make a lot of sense because King Arthur wouldn't have been alive back then. But I know they're not really going for historical context. So let's just leave it at that, guys. Overall, it's a really fun horror comedy film, supernatural horror comedy. Again, I can't stress enough just how fun and funny and just how much of a good time you'll have with it. Again, it's as good as the first one. So, I mean, take your pick. Either watch the first or watch the second. Doesn't matter too much because they're both equally good. In this case, again, another 5 out of 5. What say you?
Also another 5 out of 5.
So, yeah, after having had to deal with Paranormal Activity a couple of videos ago, we're now on a nice string of good films, guys.
I know.
So, but of course, if you have seen Evil Dead 2 and you believe that it is the worst science fiction horror comedy film of all time, then clearly you have not seen Titanic 666, the ghost ship.
Oh wait, is that the new
The
one?
Asylum one, yeah.
Oh wait, is that the new one that's out on Tubi at the moment?
Yeah. Thought I'd throw
Nice.
that one out there. But hey, maybe we'll watch it, torture ourselves for you guys someday. Of course, again, the hint for the next video is, of course, the same as it's been for the last two. Boom. Which, of course, you guys probably already know. Army of Darkness next time.
Oh, wait, I have.
Yep. So next time it's Army of Darkness, and then after that we finish up the rest of the month of Halloween horror, and we'll see you guys next time. But until then, there's only one thing left to say, and that is
Peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye.